women are getting paid to play in the nines, which is the first time England's women have ever been paid before.
Yeah.
And this is on on Sky Sports on a Friday night in the spot that
I
we're
was going to
used to
say, yeah,
watching.
it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Continued growth, continued exposure for our great game as well. Right.
Oh, and a positive as well, just on women. It was Alicia for Joshua's team that won the Parents Player of the Year and the Coaches Player of the Year this year for Myton, the female teammate.
Well, there you go. And as the whole sides continue to strengthen and maybe move up the ladder, she'll have something. She has something to aspire to, doesn't she?
Well, she's only got one more year that she's allowed to play with the boys.
Well, this is
yeah.
What's the I forget the name. Courtney Hill. This is one of the things she was saying. Like, she said she played rugby league as a kid up until she was told she wasn't allowed to play with the boys anymore, and that's when she turned her attention to cricket.
Yeah.
So now girls don't have to make that choice to go and play another sport if they love rugby league. They can play rugby league, and they can play rugby league at a level that they can play for their hometown hero club. They can do what what their brother could do, but they couldn't have the opportunity to do. They can do that now. They can play under those Super League brands, those big names.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
It is, and I mean, she's had a brilliant second half of the season. She's a prop forward, and to be honest, the boys keep saying, I don't know why she can't play for us any longer, because she doesn't.
Tougher than they are.
Yeah.
You were being diplomatic. I'll just put the exclamation mark on it.
No, she's a tough nut, is Alicia.
Excellent stuff. Right, okay then. Main event of the season, I suppose, the grand finale, the Super League Grand Final at Old Trafford on Saturday, 6 p.m. kickoff on Sky Sports. It's runaway leaders St Helens against bunch of misfits Salford, and the story has all been about the bunch of misfits, hasn't it?
Yeah.
After the game on Friday, we put a poll out. On Saturday, we put the poll out to let the listeners pick who they thought was going to win this grand final, and the results might surprise a few people. It ended up 37% of the voters thought that St Helens are going to win the grand final, and 63% thought that Salford would.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe
I'll read some of the comments to see where that feeling comes from. I think some sort of recency bias and falling for the fairy tale, but Alfie Garner at Alfie Wolf said not Wigan, lots of laughter for him, or Wire, less laughter for him. Salford for sure, fingers crossed. Dr. Hideous said Salford by 16 when Saints bottle it. Dennis said, as much as I want it to be Salford, I can't see past Saints. They've been on fire all season. Now, if it was London, stranger things have happened at sea.
Well, not even at sea.
Leaving the door open. Mike Murphy said that Salford will win it through sheer and pure want and grit. And Rob Oakes said, made up for Salford getting this far, but can't see nothing but a Saints win by 16 to 20 points. And Ian Barkley said, tensions will rise and Saints will go a man down, and that's how they'll lose.
Interesting.
I think it's remarkable. I mean, I get the story, and I applaud how brilliant Salford have been, but to get to this grand final. But did no one watch St Helens 2 weeks ago? Or 10 days ago?
They were only playing Wigan there, weren't they?
Well, Wigan only finished second in the table. Salford were only playing Wigan last on Friday.
I'm just trying to come up with some reasoning.
So what do you think? What do you think will happen?
Do you know, I desperately, desperately would love it to be the fairy tale for lots and lots of reasons.
Yeah.
But I can't. I just think that Saints will do it. And I think that they could do it by about 16. I mean, they could do it. If Saints really click, they could do it by more. Salford haven't got the big game experience. And that does play a part in it, I think, to some extent.
There's the old you've got to lose one to win one saying, isn't there? And whilst a lot of the Salford players aren't inexperienced and a number of them have won finals before, they've never done it together as a group, have they?
No.
And the club's never done it. Whereas Saints they've done that losing one thing already this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think, the whole coach of the year thing, that could actually work either way. You could have Salford players, fired up, we're going to win this for Watson, we're going to prove that he should have got it. But equally, the Saints players, we're going to do this for Holbrook, we're going to prove that he was the right choice for coach of the year. Yeah,
and they want to thank him for the way he's helped them develop as players, as individuals, and see him off in the right way.
Exactly. So
there's no lack of motivation for both sides, is there, in a grand final when you start dressing down the storylines?
I think I really hope it's a brilliant spectacle. I really hope that I would love to see Salford do it. It'd be nice to get another name on the trophy, somebody different for once. I'd love it to happen for Owen. But I just think it's the Saints to do it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'll be laughing all the way to next season starting if St Helens lose as a Wigan fan. And I really like what Salford have achieved this year. I like a lot of the people at Salford in terms of the players and the backroom staff that they have together there and stuff. And there's Salford fans that I know and like Owen, like the guys who do the Devil in the Detail podcast. There's lots of people there who I'd love for Salford to do it for. But on the other end of things, St Helens have been so good this year. So good. And that performance against Wigan 2 weeks ago, I mean, especially that first 40 minutes, was as close to perfection as I've seen from any side on either side of the world this season. And so I almost feel like it would be unjust if they don't turn up and perform.
Yeah.
If they don't make amends for what they did at Wembley, or didn't do at Wembley as the case may be, if they don't come and display the kind of dominance that we saw from them throughout most of the season before attention turned elsewhere because it was getting a bit boring that they were that good. Once that relegation stuff was dealt with and the playoff race was dealt with, we went back to watching St Helens be absolutely brilliant. And so I want them to be brilliant again. I want Salford to push them as close as Salford pushed them earlier in this season, back in May, when they maybe deserved or nearly deserved to overcome Saints at Saints earlier on in the season in what was, I'm told, one of the best games of the season. It's one of the few TV games I didn't get to watch because I was on a plane to Barcelona at the time. But yeah, if it's a game like that and both teams play like they've played in recent weeks, but Saints come out on top, I think that's the right result.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's horrible to say. Horrible to say. I think Saints will win by 20 in the end. I think that they'll get to a point where they hit a lead and then there'll be an emotional stir that they'll be able to ride better than I think Salford will. Because this team have probably been together a little bit longer and experienced a little bit more together than this Salford team has. So I think Saints by 20, but I would love it to be, and I would laugh all the way through Christmas and beyond if it was the other way round. Yeah. I can't believe that 2/3 nearly of the voters went for Salford.
But is that people that just want the fairy tale? Because, sometimes when I've done my Super Brew, I've just been picking the team I want to win, not actually what I think is going to happen.
Well, it was a tactic that was working out well for you until Hull FC started to let you down.
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's our predictions. Let's just wrap up this 242nd episode of the Super League Pod. So, as is tradition, we end the show with a little bit of a quiz, Sarah. And I thought when we went through the Man of Steel Awards, the one part of the night that we didn't really talk too much about was all the retiring players and the focus on those guys. So I thought we'd do our quiz about the retiring players instead to give some of those guys a little bit of focus. So I've got 3 questions for you linked to this year's retiring class. I noticed that Gareth Ellis wasn't on the retiring class this year. Is he? Do we know?
The talk is he's doing another season.
Or do they only get to
retire once?
Retire once. He was celebrated last year, so now.
Anyway. The year before he was celebrated.
Was it?
Yeah, he had 18 months out.
Oh gosh, wow! It feels like yesterday that he retired and then unretired and then
and beat Wigan.
Yeah, it was a pretty shocking occasion. It was first win for you guys in about a year, weren't it, as well?
Yeah, something like that. 16. 14 matches, 13 matches.
Right. One of the stars of the show last night, I think, one of the players that entertained everyone the most was Ben Westwood. So we're going to start with Ben Westwood. And the question about Ben Westwood is, what year did Ben Westwood make his first Super League appearance?
$1999.
Spot on. Yeah, it was a 66 to 6 loss for Wakefield against Gateshead Thunder.
Back in the day.
Yeah, there you go. When Wakefield were fresh it back into the top level, and I guess Gateshead were established. There you go. Okay. Before you took any of the players that were worth a jot. Okay, right. Which of his club sides has Mark Minicello played the most games for?
Sydney Roosters.
It was the Gold Coast. He played nearly 300 times for Gold Coast before playing 200 times for you guys. He's obviously had a lot of games in his career. He certainly played over 200 times for the Gold Coast anyway.
He's played over 400 matches. He had his 400th match. Maybe even his 450th match.
Yeah. He's played a lot of times.
I knew it was whichever Australian club he had played at.
So finally, there was 3 Leeds in inverted commas for us, but for Leeds fans, no inverted commas, legends that were amongst this year's retirees. And what I want you to do is order those 3 Leeds retirees from least amount of Leeds games to most amount of Leeds games. So if you need a reminder of who those guys are in surname alphabetical order, it is the cart horse Carl Ablett, the inspiration that is Jamie Jones Buchanan, and Danny Maguire is the other one. So
I got 2 out of 3 of them.
So which one do you? I mean, it's hard to pick one that you like the least, isn't it? Really, when Ablett and Maguire are on the list.
Yeah.
But in order of least amount of Leeds Rhinos games to most amount of Leeds Rhinos games for those 3 players, what would you have a punt at that order being?
I'm going to go Ablett first.
Yes, correct.
Oh. It's tricky because JJB had quite a bit of injury time, but then Maguire went to Rovers, didn't he? So I'll go JJB next, and then Maguire first.
Absolutely spot on. So,
yes.
According to Wikipedia, Ablett played 324 times for Leeds, JJB played 411 times for Leeds, and Danny Maguire played 416 times for Leeds. So that was close between the right amount of deliberation and certainly the right result there, Sarah, on those 2.
Yes.
Right.